Have you ever seen a moment so powerful, so unexpected, that it changes the way you look at life forever? That's exactly what happened in this story. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every second until the end. If this story touches your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us what truly matters in life. It was a quiet afternoon in the park. Parents sat on benches, watching their kids run, laugh, and play. But off to the side, near the swings, sat a little girl in a wheelchair. Her legs were still, her hands folded in her lap, her big brown eyes watching the other kids chase each other. She looked about 8 years old. Beautiful, but with a sadness in her gaze that told you she was used to being left out. This girl was the daughter of a powerful CEO, a man everyone knew for his wealth and business empire. But in that moment, he wasn't a CEO. He was just a father, standing behind his daughter, silently praying she wouldn't notice the way other children avoided her. He knew the stares, the whispers, the way people pretended not to notice. And even though he gave his daughter everything money could buy, therapy, toys, private nurses, he couldn't buy the one thing she wanted most, a friend. The father's heart ached every time he saw her sitting alone. He would kneel beside her and tell her, "Sweetheart, you're perfect the way you are." She'd smile faintly, but he knew she didn't believe him. And then, something happened that no amount of money could have made possible. A man walked into the park with his own little girl, around the same age. He wasn't dressed in a suit like the CEO. His clothes were simple, his shoes worn out. A single dad, raising his daughter on his own after losing his wife years earlier. He carried the weight of struggle, but also the strength of love for the little girl holding his hand. As they passed by, the single dad noticed the CEO's daughter. He saw her sitting alone, staring at the children who didn't dare approach. He paused. Something in his heart wouldn't let him keep walking. He bent down to his daughter and whispered, "Sweetheart, would you like to meet her?" His daughter smiled instantly and said, "Yes, Daddy." Without hesitation, the man walked up to the CEO's daughter and knelt down to her level. Gently, he said, "Hi there. My daughter would love to play with you." For a moment, silence. The CEO's daughter blinked, almost not believing her ears. No one had ever said that before. She looked at the girl beside him, who was already smiling, already holding out her hand. And in that moment, something inside her lit up, her tiny fingers reached out, and she took the other girl's hand. The wheelchair rolled forward slightly as the single dad helped them get closer. The two girls began to laugh, softly at first, then louder. They didn't care about the wheelchair, the differences, or the stares. They were just two children discovering the joy of friendship. The story didn't end in the park that day, it was only the beginning. What happened afterward was something neither the CEO nor the single dad could have ever predicted. The next weekend, the CEO's daughter asked him the same question over and over again, "Daddy, do you think she'll be there? Do you think my new friend will come to the park today?" Her eyes sparkled in a way he hadn't seen since before the accident that left her paralyzed. For so long, he had been carrying her loneliness like his own burden. Now, he felt the weight lift just a little. The CEO found himself driving to the same park, not because it was part of his schedule but because it was now the highlight of his daughter's week. And there they were, the single dad and his daughter, waiting with the same excited smiles. It became a routine. Every Saturday, without fail, the two families met. The girls played, laughed, and built a bond that no wheelchair, no hardship, no difference could break. But life is never that simple. One day, the CEO learned something about the single dad that broke his heart. The man had lost his job a few months earlier and was working odd shifts just to keep food on the table. The CEO stood frozen, watching this unfold. His throat tightened, his eyes watered, but for the first time in years, those tears weren't from sadness, they were from relief. He wasn't just seeing his daughter smile. He was seeing her belong. Over the next hour, the park transformed for those two girls. They played games, shared secrets, giggled endlessly. The single dad pushed the wheelchair so his daughter and the CEOs could race together. They didn't need to run. Their laughter carried them farther than any legs ever could. The CEO finally approached the single dad. His voice trembled as he said, "Thank you. You don't know what this means to me." But the man just smiled and replied, "I don't need to know. I just know what it means to her." That moment built a bond between two families who couldn't have been more different. One had all the riches in the world. The other had barely enough to get by. But the one thing they both shared was love for their daughters. And through that love, they realized something powerful. Kindness doesn't cost a thing, but it can change everything. As the sun began to set, the CEO's daughter turned to her father and whispered,